Okay, we are on a. Before I get started on NXT, I gotta do this now. During the show, it was Vic who said it himself. He said that we must state right now we had a loss in the wrestling industry. Jay Briscoe has passed away. When he said that, I said, what? Jay Briscoe, them boys? When the commercial came on, I had to go and check. Because I'm watching it online. And I checked the wiki to see if it had been updated. And it was. For today. If you don't know yet, he just died today. In Lauren, Delaware, he was driving. And supposedly he was in a car crash. Do not know the full details. Was the person drunk? Was there some type of problem because of the roads? Was he drunk? I'm not saying they were. There was a car accident. And he's passed away. At the age of 39. How many more are going to die this year? I mean, we had a lot that died last year. Now, how many more this year? It's taking away my own anxieties. It is very sad. And I give my condolences to the family for both Briscoes because this affects not just Jay, but his brother. It hurts to see something like this happen. It does. It hurts so bad. Now, WWE was willing to acknowledge it. Now, if this was Vince, let's be honest, he wouldn't have done it. But at least with Shawn right now, he was willing to acknowledge it like they did with Don West of last year. So what's going to happen? I'm definitely sure that AEW is going to have some type of special tomorrow. Because this is being done Tuesday, as you know. So kind of like what happened with Brody Lee, they're going to do something for Jay. So I don't know what, but it's a sad day. This sucks. Now that I got that out of the way, I needed to say it because I didn't want to wait until the end of this video. It's not what I wanted. And I know this is not what you guys wanted, but it is something that as wrestling reviewers and fans of wrestling, we do have to deal with periodically, or in some cases a lot, counting if they die because of steroid use or accident in the ring, or in this case, due to a car accident, driving from one place to another. Even if they were off, it still hurts. Now, let's open. Now, I'm going to be honest here with the first match. Apollo Crews and Axiom versus the Trick Williams, who I don't believe needs to be working with Carmelo Hayes anymore. I didn't see all the match. I missed some of it. But what parts I did see were pretty good. I'm not saying that Axiom's a bad match. Never. I've seen him. He's very good. I'm not saying Apollo's a bad match. Great wrestler. Not great when it comes to the mic all the time. Not great when it comes to his character. But he has worked on it over the years and he's gotten a lot better. Carmelo Hayes is fine. Trick Williams. Guys, what the hell was he wearing? He was wearing plaid with what? Stretchy leather pants. I don't know what to do. I wanted to laugh my ass off. And on top of that, I take nothing away from Trick. At least I will say he's an okay wrestler. But him working with Carmelo Hayes holds Carmelo Hayes down. I'm sorry, it just does. I'm just being honest here. I'm not against Carmelo. I'm not against Trick. But I can see it's time for them to split off. Trick needs to grow. And being with Carmelo, he ain't getting anywhere. Carmelo's already grown enough that he's ready for the main roster. He is ready to go off on his own. Trick should stay in NXT and develop himself. He should be on his own. This is the way I see it. Now, the segment after that, because they did lose, you see a Apollo Crews rubbing it in their face and saying he's going over to their barbershop just to fuck with them there. So is that a good thing? Yeah, it continues the feud and it continues what's going on. And I'm hoping this leads to something, a stipulation that will help Carmelo and it will help Apollo. I don't know if it will. That's what I'm just hoping for. Next, The match that I'm like, yes, it was cool in one point, but you can tell where they're going. You got Abba Fire versus Sorika. Now, I want to make this clear about Sorika. Really clear. I'm not against her. Not one bit. I actually like her. She's very pretty. She does talk pretty well. She has great gymnastic ability, but that's her fatal flaw right now. And if you saw that scene of her doing a reversed neck breaker on Abba Fire, flipping forward and grabbing her neck as she did the flip, that was very good. But this is a major problem she has. As athletic as she is, as gymnastically inclined as she is, and she's damn good, she's not a very good pro wrestler. She's not. Now, of course, she's still learning. And that's what I'm hoping for, that she will slowly, this is her in gymnastics. This is her in wrestling. This is it. She should be more like this than like this. This is dead even. Barely doing it. This is very good. This is where she is right now. Maybe like here. She needs to bring this down a bit. She needs to. I don't want to hear because she's too athletic. But I do believe she should be a lot more and a lot less. She needs to understand balance. A lot of high-flying wrestlers, no matter male or female, don't get that. They think spots is the most important thing. And in many cases, it doesn't work if you don't have psychology and a good mat sense when you work with someone who's more experienced than you. You need to know how to be able to make it work. And when you see Abba Fire, she's way more experienced. Yes, she did lose, and particularly when it came to Aladon, yes, I see what's going on with Aladon, particularly when the tag champs had to help her fight. I can see somewhere that is going where Abba Fire will start working with Aladon eventually. It looks like it's going to go there eventually. Unless they're actually going to do it next week. But I see it happening. But I see Sorika. I really do believe she needs to work on lowering some of her gymnastic ability and working more on her ring ability. She doesn't have that ring sense. Not enough of it. Let's move on. Next, we had Gallus versus Briggs and Jensen. Now, this was interesting. I expected Lakita James to come out. I didn't see her come out at first. And I'm going like, that's kind of strange because Jensen is having a relationship with her. And I thought she'd just come out and yes, Fallon would start fighting with Lakita while that's going on. Akita. But no, she doesn't come out. Not until Gallus pulls up the mat outside and eventually Jensen gets laid out did she finally come out with the trainers. That's when I realized that they were setting something up where Fallon and Akita, what is her name? Kiana, I believe. Akita. I think that's her name. Akina. I'm so bad with names. This is what you get. This is what you get in my show. I cannot get names correctly. I think her name is Akita James. Akita James. And I'm bad with pronouncing names until something clicks in my head and I finally get it correct. I like her. Now particularly, she's not doing the corporate bit. She's now doing something different that needs to be developed. I do not believe James is there yet. Not at all. She's acting like someone who wants to be a girlfriend. Who once was corporate and a model. And we need more about what's going to be beyond the corporate and the model as a girlfriend. And now supposedly they're going to have a tag team match. And that is Fallon and James together. Because Fallon was ready to walk away from James. Because she can see that she's trying to use him. And he says, how? You got the bar back. How is she using me? And she's saying when she screws you over, I'm not going to be there until at least about a few minutes later. And she comes back, apologizes, and makes the match. That's just how it is. Now, let's do a little bit of... How many matches I got left? I got 1, 2. Let's do a little bit of these backstage segments. Was Tiffany's segment good with, let me give it to you like this. Am I interested in Tiffany? No, not yet. Am I interested in Indy Hartwell? Yes, I am. Seeing that Tiffany believes she's better than every woman there, and yes, she's like, and she basically pissed off everyone, and basically, let me give it to you like this. Losing her locker room is not something that's not unknown. If you saw the Mrs. documentary, where literally he pissed someone off to the point where he had no more locker room to dress in. If you need to see the Mrs. Documentary, because the Miz made it very clear when he first started out, because he started in the real world and not started as a professional wrestler at first, wrestlers didn't want to have anything to do with him. They didn't believe in him, they didn't trust him, and in fact, instead of letting him dress in the locker room with the other guys, they kicked his ass out and he had to dress outside the locker room and basically anywhere he could. So seeing Tiffany go through this isn't something that isn't really fake. It actually has happened where some people just get kicked out of a locker room, matter it's a woman or a man's locker room. So it does work. I want to see how they're going to make her interesting, because as it stands now, she's just pretty hair, tits, and ass. That's it. I haven't seen her in the ring much, and I don't know how this character is going to get over. So I see Hartwell more important than Tiffany. That's how it is. Next, let's do this segment with Dijak. I gotta say this. Do I like Dijak's segment? Yes. Do I believe in Dijak? Yes. Do I believe he's going to destroy Wesley? I don't know. He could easily do it. And he could become the North American champion. But I don't know if they're ready to drop that title on him. His rise has been a good one once he went through Tony D'Angelo and Stacks, and I'll get to them in a moment. So he's going like this. But the question is, are they going to let Wesley job to him? I just don't see it. But if they're setting this up for vengeance, it could happen. But I don't believe it should. Now, let's go to Tony and Stacks. Was their segment they weren't in the streets. They weren't in the arena or the venue. They were actually near a bridge. And due to the fact of what Stacks did, willing to sacrifice himself, willing to put Tony first every single time, Stacks thought that he had been a failure. And he thought that Tony was just going to get rid of him, throw him over the bridge and just get rid of him because he wasn't a great soldier. But Tony didn't do that. He gave him a jacket and said that he's also no longer a soldier, but he's full family. He's kind of like a Kodan, like if I may understand what was going on. So Tony D'Angelo is still the main Don, and that's him under him as basically his brother in a sense. And he gave him a hug, he gave him a kiss, and they walk away. Now, is that a good thing? Well, it depends, because the Don needs soldiers. The Don needs a new guy by his side as a soldier. It can't just be Starks, who's now been a soldier here and now has been elevated near the top of the Don or just slightly under him. Of course, Starks will still do what he needs to do like a soldier, but he shouldn't act like one. He should be, when it comes to Tony D'Angelo, he's here. He makes the final say. Stacks is here. And they need another person right here that Stacks has to have him to report to. Well, the guy's got to report to Stacks, and then Stacks reports to Tony every single time. I don't see them as co-owners of the family. It's going to be Tony, and there's going to be Stacks, and then all the soldiers below it. It's got to be that way. But who's going to be the next soldier? That's the question. What do I believe of Steven? Let me give it to you like this. Do I believe that girl, Steven Turner, or Turner? I believe her name is Turner. Do I care about her? Not yet. It is interesting to try and do the streamer point of view, like on Twitch, instead of like doing a Grayson Waller segment, or a Miz segment, or a Kevin Owens, or anyone else. She's doing the streaming thing, which actually is up to date and is what's being done today. I actually agree with this. This is the way it's supposed to be now. You can't keep doing basically these talk shows. It's streaming now. So her being a streamer in the back actually makes perfect sense. And she did do a review of the Battle Royal. She wasn't in it, but she did review it, which was fine. That's actually kind of knocking on my job. She actually kind of did my job for one match, which is fine. So the question is, how far are they going to go with the streamer part? As a streamer, it's got to be set up in a way so she can rise like this. But the question is how they're going to do it. Because if they do like a talk show, it's not going to work. But if they do a talk show like in a streaming sense, where they're going to have to have a computer, they're going to have her streaming, and if they have it streamed to the Titantron where it could be seen, that actually would go with her character. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Now, Frizz versus Thea Hall. I believe her name is Frizz. Velasquez? I can't remember her name. I've seen her a couple of times. She's worked with Alan Shearer. And for some reason, Elektra really likes her. And she tried to help her. Was the match good? It was fine. Now, I know I can talk something about what happened with Duke and being recorded. I'm leaving that out. I'm purposely leaving it out. I haven't forgotten it. I'm purposely leaving it out because I need to see how they're going to develop it. Just reporting on it is not enough. We need a development of it. How is Andre going to perceive this going forward? Now, of course, Thea won her match, even though Frizz had brass knucks given to her by a Elektra, where basically after she got it, she didn't want to keep it and she threw it away. A question's going to be, is she having her as a protege? It looks like she is. And now she's going to be going up against Wendy Chu. That is what Elektra is going to be facing her next week. So it sounds like she's trying to get her as a tag team partner or a protege. That's just how I see it. Is it going to be good? I don't know yet. Let's move on. The match that was a bit sloppy. Tyler Begg. I think the reason I'm botching is Banal. He's funny. He tried to do the Elias bit. Now, mind you, you don't want to copy someone else's stick on the main roster. Not every time. It's not something, particularly if you don't do it that well. Do I believe Banal is doing it well? Using Feliz Navidad song, which is not his song, which he supposedly sold it and was in the top 40, and he's trying to sell it. Is it working? Sort of. I'm not saying he isn't entertaining and funny, but I don't know. Not yet. He is entertaining. He is funny. Do I believe this Feliz Navidad part was working? No. But he has been funny as Big Bobby Hobby. I'm just saying. When he went up against Tyler Bates, was it a good match? Tyler is a great wrestler when he's on point. But Tyler, by the end of the match, was sloppy. When he tried to do that reverse, I think he tried to just do a flip powerbomb. He had to redo it twice, not because Banal messed up the first time or kicked out of it. It's because he did it twice because he was sloppy about it. I think he's got some ring rust. So hopefully as he comes back and starts working every week, he'll get it down packed. He even looked a little winded. Not saying the guy can't go, but if you've been out of the ring for 3, 4, 5 months and you haven't wrestled at all or practiced, you can get tanked. I don't care who you are. You can be in the greatest shape. You can be top. You can be this. You can be all this, which I'm not. I'm just flabby. I'm an old 51-year-old man who can't exercise very well. It's hard to exercise. But if I was, even if I was in super great shape with abs of steel and muscles upon muscles upon muscles, doesn't mean you're really working well in the ring. You can tank very quickly. You got to have the right ring cardio. So he looks like he was a little off, and the move that he tried to do at the end was sloppy. I will not say the match was complete trash. It wasn't. It was good until the end. That's just me, you guys. Tell me below. All right. What can I say about the fight that Gallus, New Day, and Pretty Deadly had? Typical. You got 3 tag teams that want the damn title. Pretty Deadly still has the right to try and get a rematch, which the New Day has been stalling them. That's the reason why Booker T can't stand. Booker T hates New Day's ass so bad. I love it. I love that New Day is being hated by Booker T, but I want to see them address it so bad. I don't know about anybody else, but I want to see Booker T interview New Day in the damn ring and New Day mess with Booker T's ass. That's what I want. Doesn't mean I want Booker T back in the ring. I just want them to fuck with him because I want to see him go, oh, you did not do that. You did not do that. Like that. I want to see him get angry, and I want to see Pretty Deadly come to his aid. And not that I want to see Pretty Deadly have him as a manager. Because it's going to depend on, because I was just thinking about just like, wait a minute, it would be pretty cool to see Booker T as a manager for Pretty Deadly. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing it, but it's going to depend on who's going to take the spot of Booker T. Because when we look at Vic Joseph, he's actually much better than the guy who's working on Raw. I don't remember his name. I keep forgetting his name. I don't like him with Corey Graves. He's just not that good. He would be better as an interviewer. He just doesn't sound good. He talks like that. What happened to Smith? I would rather see Smith back there. What was the guy's name? John Smith or Matt Smith? I think his name was Matt Smith. Either that or bring Matt Smith to NXT and let Booker T become a manager for Pretty Deadly because he's really in their corner. That's where I feel it. Now, final match of the night. We got Toxic Attraction versus Rosie Perez and Valkyria. Now, in the very opening, well, not the opening, near the beginning to somewhere in the middle of the show, you got Toxic Attraction talking. And I gotta tell you this. Toxic Attraction just doesn't look right. CJ and Gigi just don't feel right. They're missing something. Now, obvious, it's got to be Mandy Rose. Mandy's influence really, it irks me that they feel like they're missing something. Toxic Attraction is missing something. Because I guess they need to be 3 people. I don't care if it's JC or it's Gigi. I believe her name is JC. Or Gigi. They need a 3rd person where either JC or Gigi is the leader of one of them. And that 3rd person is needed there. Toxic Attraction needs to be 3 people, not 2. They just feel empty without a 3rd person. So when you see the segment in the ring, it felt like they were lacking something. Yes, Roseanne comes out. And, no, not Roseanne. Roxanne. I don't know why I said Roseanne. Roxanne comes out. She does a little bit. She's not that great. Well, technically, I'm sorry. I think that's what was missing. Roxanne coming out. And then Valkyria comes out. Not Valkyria comes out. Because I think the reason I boxed Roxanne's name, called her Roseanne, and thought that Roxanne was Valkyria who came out, was due to the fact I'm not feeling Valkyria. Laura Valkyria, I'm not feeling her. She does not feel her name and her character. She needs to be a bigger woman with that name and character. Her character needs to be different. She needs to be highly aggressive. She's too gentle. I'm not taking anything away. I want to make this clear. I'm not taking anything away from her performance in the ring. She's actually quite good in the ring. She's not great, but she's good. But her character doesn't work with her it doesn't work with the actual person we're dealing with. It does not work. So I'm not feeling her. She needs to be another name with another character. Laura Valkyria should be a much bigger person. It should be, you know who should have the name Valkyria? And it shouldn't be Valkyria? Guess who? Taya Valkyrie. Taya Valkyrie is a true Valkyrie. Laura Valkyria doesn't feel like a Valkyrie. Taya does. And that's my problem with her. She just doesn't fit her character. And I don't see her growing into it. She doesn't feel right. She needs another character to go with the Valkyria name. She doesn't feel like it. We already got Abba Fire and we got Isla Dawn. Two women that come from the Isles of Europe. Coming from the UK. And then you see Valkyria. I don't know if she's from Europe. I believe she is. But she is a third woman there. And either she should work with those three or she should be something else. So she works great in the ring. And the faces win. And now there's going to be a summit 4 days before Vengeance. Fine. But I'm like, really? It doesn't feel it. But this is just me. You guys tell me below, particularly if I got some of the names wrong. You guys know me. I get names wrong so much. I suck. I reek. I'm surprised I remember my own name. And understand, I want to say this clearly. I'm not going to give my government names. Like everybody else, I got a middle name. But I'm going to give you this little tidbit. When I was a kid, for some reason, my mother, and this happens in families, instead of using my original first name from my biological father, my mother chose not to use it. Never used it. My mother never mentioned my name but maybe twice in my life. 3 times in my life. Straight to my face. Not counting on if I had to sign some paperwork with that name. And I'm asking her as a small little kid who didn't understand why I'm signing another name. Why am I signing this name? My name is my middle name. And she says, don't worry about it. Just sign this. You just need to sign it. Don't think about it. And not until I became a teenager did I even remembered that other name I used to have to sign was my actual name because I had to go and face my mother with that. And I didn't even realize it. I think it was one of the reasons why I never good with names because I never even used my own original one. I had to use my middle name until I was a kid, from a kid into a teenager. And then I switched over to my full real name as an adult. So it's like, really? Peace.